Welcome to the Italian Football Podcast.
Okay, so how do Juventus rebuild then from here? What I want to do is I want to look at which Juventus staff and which players need to go really in order to take Juventus, allow Juventus to rebuild properly and return to the top of not only Italian football but European football. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through first of all who I think needs to move on from Juventus, and then I guess you can do the same. And then from there, what I want to do is I want to read out the views of some of our listeners, because I put out a tweet yesterday asking some of my followers on Twitter who they think needs to go, so we can get the view of a lot of Juventus fans, but also Serie A fans as a whole. So I'll start off in terms of staff. Allegri, obviously, as we've discussed, he has to go. No further explanation needed. Agnelli, I think his time is over. I think he's been a disaster in every decision he's made, sportingly, financially, manager appointments, director appointments, the Super League rollout. You can go on pretty much every area of Juventus that he's been dealing with for the last, since Ronaldo joined in 2018. Everything that he's touched has turned to dust, really. So I think he's had a good run. He did great things at the start, but he needs to move on. The CEO, Maurizio Arrivabene, I was never hot on him right from the start. He doesn't know anything about football, and I don't see anything that he's done since he's joined that gives me any hope really for the future. The sporting director, Juventus need a new sporting director. I mean, they're already looking for one. I think Cherubini did some good work with the youth team in earlier years. I think maybe he can go back to that role of developing youngsters, because we are seeing the fruit of some of that labour recently. We saw the other night the likes of Iling Junior, Soulé, Miretti. There's others as well that have come through or coming through. The youth team's doing pretty well in the youth league this season and last. The medical team as well needs a complete overhaul. You just look at the number of injuries that Juventus have had in recent years, but also just the conditioning of this team, the lack of intensity, and the ability to be able to maintain any kind of rhythm or tempo compared to other teams. I mean, just look at Napoli last night, for example. That needs to be completely changed as well. So those are the staff I would get rid of. In terms of players out, I'll list the players that I would get rid of: De Sciglio, McKennie, Quadrado when his contract runs out at the end of the season, Alexandre the same, Moise Kean, Bonucci, obviously a legend, club legend, but I think he's past his best. Juventus need to move on. Di Maria, he's just been a complete disaster. He doesn't care. I would even get rid of him in January potentially. Maybe keep him on to the end of the season just to try and help get fourth place if he could prove that he actually gives a shit about the club. Caio George, I'm not sure about. Rugani, Rabiot, like I said in our questions edition on Tuesday, no renewal. I wouldn't give him a renewal. Zakaria, when Chelsea inevitably send him back, hasn't played a minute. Pellegrini and Paredes, I definitely wouldn't. If the possibility is to not make that loan move permanent, I definitely wouldn't keep him. Maybes, I would say Kostic, depends on the system they play. If it's a 3-5-2, keep him. If it's a 4-3-3, sell him, because he doesn't suit that system. Gatti, I would like to see how he does. Same with Fagioli. I would like to see how both these players do under a coach who would try and develop them, because they just haven't been given that opportunity under Allegri. And those that should stay and that Juventus should try and build around: Bremer, Locatelli, Pogba, Chiesa, Vlahovic, Milik, Miretti. Pinzoglio I would keep as just as a third choice. He's good for the changing room. Soulé, Perrin as a backup is absolutely fine. Cambiasso would bring him back, and Rovella as well. And finally, the players that I would keep, but I wouldn't give them a contract renewal when their contracts run out in 2024, are Szczesny, keep him until then, and Danilo, keep him until then, but no renewals for these guys. They'll be too old, and there's just no point keeping them any longer. What do you say, Nima?
I agree with every single one there. The only thing I would disagree with somewhat, not really disagree with, is is Rabiot. I think if you can get him on a 4-year, 4 million, something like that net per season, I think as a rotation player, he works. But other than that, I get rid of every single one.
Listen to the full show and all other episodes by going to patreon.com/TIFP and become a member for only $2.99 per month.